We've got people from all sorts of backgrounds, including Disney and Paradigm and Ubisoft and all sorts. People who work at Walmart, cool. Teams consisting of best friends and fathers, that'd be interesting. We actually have quite a few teenagers who've entered. 3D artists who work for the nation's defense building simulations. That's cool. Active duty army men, heads of IT departments, self-taught 3D modelers, design companies, hobbyists, enthusiasts, amateurs, and freelancers. So it should be a pretty cool competition. We have, of course, our very own Chris Roberts judging.
We do. And we have our Austin art team who right now are all actually, since in America it's Thanksgiving this week, so a lot of people take off a day or two early because we take Thursday, which is Thanksgiving, is obviously a holiday, and then Friday's a holiday, so it's a long weekend, and people take off. So actually Mark Skelton, who's our Austin art director, is off today, and I think Chris Olivier worked late last night, but they both will be on the judging panel, and Chris Smith, who's our lead vehicle modeler, who's done an amazing job. I mean, the Hornet rebuild and design and all that sort of stuff was all his. The 300i was what he modeled. He's also off for this week for his sort of long extended Thanksgiving holiday for all the hard work he's been doing, cranking out stuff for the hangar and the game. So, but they'll all be part of the panel, and then we'll get some other sort of industry people in, or celebrities to judge, and it should be fun. And we're going to try and make it fun, and
every Friday.
Every Friday, yeah, should be good.
And then what else we got going? Mouse pads arrived. Just in case you're wondering what this is, I saw somebody thought it was a big magazine. It is actually a massive mouse pad.
Can we see all?
Look at that.
And I think we currently. Oh, look at that! Oh, I can see. There you are, see me on it.
Mouse pads, polo shirts are ready to ship, so they will start shipping on Thanksgiving Day to everybody who ordered a polo shirt. My hoodie samples just arrived, for those of you who saw this earlier. So we're just going through quality on these.
Oh, it's not wet.
Well, it's a bit small for you, Chris. But
Is this the baby one? We can see it.
That's a medium.
Medium. There we go.
Yeah, it's slightly short in the arms, but that is a medium.
So let's see.
For all of you who live in cold climates other than Australia.
Trig Interplanetary right here. There you go. And redacted on the back. And we may do some of the swords on the side of the skull and crossbones. So good for everyone in cold, rainy Europe at the moment.
Yeah. That, Canada, everybody probably except Australia, and maybe some. Thank you. What else? Somebody asked about t-shirts. We will have another design out for that. We're probably the three new mousepad artworks are ready.
Yes, we have what we have.
The AEGIS, the MISC, and the
AEGIS, MISC, and where are we at?
Origin?
No, Origin.
No,
we already have
Origin,
Origin, Anvil, and RSI. So AEGIS, MISC, and there's a third one that I don't know why I'm blanking on. Drake.
Yay!
Yes,
right.
as in the thing. Yes, correct.
So they're ready, and I think the subscribers voted for the AEGIS one first. So
okay.
that's going to be exclusive to them first, and then what's left will go to other peeps.
Cool.
A few more patches are coming. What else we got? Oh, coffee mugs. I just saw them, samples of them, which are pretty cool. So we'll get them to the office, and then we'll try them out here and see if everybody likes them and they wash well and stuff. So that's about it from me, I think.
Okay, any questions for Sandy? Should we get a few?
Yeah, anybody out there have a question for
Sandy, just let me know on the chat roll. Somebody asking about polo shirts. They're shipping starting Thanksgiving Day. Now, someone's wondering about a Star Citizen joystick. Is that something we might be looking into in the future?
I have been talking to Saitek, and I think we want to put out a poll to see what people think, what they would like to use, and if they like that brand, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, Saitek are pretty keen to do a dedicated Star Citizen joystick. We talked about some things we would like. So to be able to have the ability to sort of look around in an analog way as well as using a joystick. We have a whole bunch of nice Saitek stuff they sent us. I mean, everyone's been great. Razer, Saitek, all the Logitech, all the peripheral folks. But yeah, it'd be fun to do a specific Star Citizen joystick. So yeah, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that.
The chat right now, they're very excited. There's
The chat room right now.
Then be sure to vote in the poll.
And then we'll know how much interest is out there so that we can create something specific for everybody.
We've got folks wondering about dog tags, citizen cards, and slippers.
Had not thought about slippers, but I can look into it. What else? Dog tags. Yeah, I'm sampling those. I'm just a bit concerned about the ones I've received, how when they get wet, how they work on the skin. I don't want stuff that affects your skin badly. So that's being worked on. What else? What did you say? Dog tags, citizen cards.
about 4 citizen cards.
The replacement run is taking a lot longer than we expected because it's really difficult to program through the site because each card is custom. So we hope to send out those forms in the first week of December. But please do not hit up customer service in the meantime because we're swamped right now. So.
All right, any other questions for Sandy, guys? They're shouting out suggestions for products. They want stickers, backpacks, 3D ships, towels, bathrobes, fish, bumper stickers. Your own mutant Star Citizen fish.
Okay, well, I think we're actually on our schedule now. We're going to do the HUD stuff, right? Is that the plan?
Yeah,
that is the plan. Okay, so we're going to show you. This is a sort of behind the scenes video we put together talking about our HUD workflow. So I think you guys will enjoy it, and then we'll have, I think, Zane who's now back in Austin, but he's coming back out here to LA, and then Brandon will be here, and I'll be here, and we can talk about some of the stuff that you've seen in this video that we're going to roll right now. So enjoy the video, and see you in a few minutes.
Hey everybody, I'm here with Johnny Likens, our UI designer. Johnny, would you like to introduce yourself to everybody?
I'm John Likens. I'm a UI designer, and I've been brought onto the project to head up all the design and UI elements inside the ships that you'll be interacting with when you're playing the game.
Can you tell us how you came to Cloud Imperium Games?
So my background is in film and television, and I got a call from Travis, who was referred to me from my work on Iron Man 3, where I did a bunch of the HUD design and UI work in that film. And it was at that point he explained to me what Star Citizen is all about and how the work that I was doing in the film world, could directly be applied to what's happening in the game world.
So you work with Zane and a bunch of the other guys in the office. What is the workflow that you work on for the HUD specifically?
So when I start a project like this, I think it's really important to become quite familiar with whatever it is that you're designing the interface graphics for. For example, the Hornet, I'm creating the HUD and all the interface sort of design elements for it, and I believe that, it should be cohesive and feel like it's part of the same system. The design aesthetic of the ship should be reflected in the UI. I started out by just sort of flying around the ship, getting a sense for some of the design work and the line work that's already been built into the ship. Just taking notes from some of the forms and shapes that have already been created for this particular asset. From there, I'll just do a lot of sketches, and I'll be very loose and very fast-paced with sort of getting a lot of ideas out on paper, and then I'll just loosely either scan in those sketches from the book, or I'll just come in here and draw, freehand on top of the plate and vectorize it and make everything clean and nice, and work with a grid and do all my typeface exploration in Illustrator and solidify all those ideas that were executed in the sketching process.
It's different just because in film, all the UI and stuff, it's all just fake, and we get to sort of, make it up as you go. But in the game environment, all these things have to have a purpose, and they have to have meaning, and they have to sort of, function as an aid to the player.
So I worked on the design for about a week and a half, and then worked on the animation for a few days, and that's kind of brought us to where we're at. But there's also been a lot that's kind of gone into it just to get to this point. For example, if you see this reticle, it's an actual 3D object. And so taking that vector design that you saw over here, knowing that we wanted to fly in and be three-dimensional and then eventually end up looking like this, taking that design that I created, that 2D vector art in Illustrator, I can then bring it into Cinema 4D and extrude all the pieces and place them in their own depth and animate them accordingly. And then I'll be able to export that out for the developers to work it into the game.
So what Johnny's focus is in this whole workflow is to come up with a high-level visual concept of the HUD, which includes the animation of the boot up sequence, and also sort of like the damage states and how that sort of animates. And what my focus is in this workflow is to take that and then animate it so that it gets translated into an in-game asset, which I can then hand over to Brandon.
Zane hands that flash file off to me, and I plug it into the engine and make sure that the C++ code is interfacing with it properly.
So the cool thing about how we're developing this game is that we're releasing it piece by piece. And so for this first dogfighting module, the work that we're doing on this HUD, we'll be able to put it out there to the players and get feedback on that. What things could be improved, what sections of the HUD are readable or not readable, and then we'll be able to fold that feedback into future iterations of the HUD on different ships and even the Anvil HUD.
In Star Citizen, there's not a lot of abstraction in how the ships function. Everything is a real part that actually exists in the system, and all of those parts need to actually communicate with each other. So I've been doing a lot of work to make sure that there's interconnectivity between all of the various ship systems, and making sure that those have a way to communicate with all of the various output devices like the player's HUD.
So our goal is to create a really cool HUD, a really immersive experience. And one of the ways that we're doing this is to actually diversify the visual style of HUD by ship manufacturer. So right now we're sort of initially concepting the visual look and feel and design language for the Hornet, or Anvil Aerospace rather. So you'll see the same style in the Hornet and Gladiator, but later on when we actually get this workflow going and we start fleshing out more HUD designs, they're actually going to be way different. So in a trading ship like the Musashi ships, you're going to be able to expect a whole different experience because the visuals language will be different.
Well, there's a lot of systems that are going to be brought into Star Citizen, and you're going to need an interface into all of those. So we're thinking about things like navigation, star maps, things like that, possibly trade interfaces. All of that is going to be done in-world. There won't be any sort of game abstract UI. So there's a lot of stuff to look forward to doing going forward.
One thing what we're doing is we're defining different color spaces that'll be applied to different things. For example, customizability of these different color spaces. So a user can take the red color space or the critical alert color space and assign a different RGB value or color to that so that it's more readable to them.
Coming from my background, not really being much of a gamer or anything, I sort of offer a fresh perspective and maybe like a new set of eyes, and I would maybe approach problems and tasks in a different way than regular designers in the game industry would, because they sort of know the limitations and they know sort of the boundaries of where they need to be working in. But for me, I don't really know anything about that, so I'm just kind of doing my thing, and then we'll work to incorporate it into you know, a usable state for gameplay.
I'm just finishing the lovely pizza that was sent to us.
By Thomas Block.
Yeah.
There you go. So, come in. So I hope you guys like that. So I have Brandon here with me, who is doing the programming side. Zane is in Austin, who will be back out here
to work, and then
Actually, Johnny isn't with us right now because he went back for Thanksgiving. He actually lives in New York, and he's been coming out here and working at our offices here. But yeah, would love to answer questions. I mean, we're pretty excited. I mean, this is just showing you the tip of the iceberg of what we're going to do with the displays and the HUD stuff. But the whole goal with the game is to make everything in the game completely immersive in context of the world, right? So there's no like kind of abstract game UI at all. And when you sit in a cockpit, you get a HUD that you would expect in that cockpit. If you're running around on first person and you grab a pistol but you don't have a combat outfit on, you have no HUD. If you put a Marine combat outfit in, then a HUD would show up. And yeah, we just want to make it sort of feel like you see in a badass sci-fi movie. Cool. And I think, Zane and Brandon and Johnny have been doing some really pretty exceptional work. And you can't even appreciate how immersive that will be when it's actually in proper stereoscopic 3D. You've got either a 3D monitor or you've got a Rift or something, because then all this stuff will be floating in front of your eyes. But it'll be pretty cool. So I guess let's hear some questions.
All right, our first question is about alien ships. How different will the HUD be?
So, I mean, the whole idea is that you would diversify the visual language of the ship by each manufacturer. So alien ships might have sort of this design language that's radically different than you would have in the human ships. So maybe more along the lines of, like different shapes, maybe a different overall color theme to it. We just have to, think about that and think of the design language when we start to work on it. So,
yeah, and I also think we're sort of designing a system to be fairly dynamic and modular. So, like the Hornet, you see but that's a military dogfighting craft. So there's probably a lot more information on the HUD there than maybe if you're flying the Freelancer or the Constellation, where it would be more minimalized, although you could bring up the information. It's just all about when you're in sort of the combat situation. In the Hornet, you're going to want to know the heat of every one of your weapons and all that sort of stuff. And so the Hornet HUD would be like an example of a HUD that would be sort of more information heavy, and there'll be some that would be less information heavy. That the system we're designing is meant to be kind of pretty modular as far as that goes.
People are asking, is it going to be customizable by the user or just by on our end?
So I think at least one of the things we can do is obviously the color customizable, because that's actually pretty easy. We have different groups of information on the HUD that we, different color spaces. So generally, the overall color of the HUD is pretty uniform, and that we use color to actually differentiate important elements on the HUD. So things that are important will actually stand out to you. So the red critical alerts will be red because, that's something that needs your immediate attention right away. It's critical. It's like, really important. So, you'll be able to customize that. Some other interaction you can do with the HUD is also minimizing different sections to just so it clears out sort of the space that you can see around you, sort of like the environment. So if you want to kind of minimize one part of the HUD, you can like cycle through it and you can minimize it kind of like taskbar minimization, but you'll still kind of see a little bit there, especially if it contains some information. So,
are we going to see this sort of HUD in the first-person mode or just in the ships?
We do plan on having some sort of HUD in first person. I think Johnny is actually going out to
or we want Johnny to work with our first person folks that we haven't announced yet. Yes. We announced them. Yeah. I mean,
we're gonna have like I said, there's a first-person HUD, but it's only if you're wearing like a suit that would have like a HUD, so augmented reality. You also have what we call Mobiglass, which is sort of the futuristic version of a PDA / augmented reality device. And so those are all things that we're prototyping that would all sort of work together. But they're all sort of work in context. So like the Mobiglass is, I think we're thinking it's mounted on your arm and you pull it up and then it projects in front of you and you sort of, it outlines and projects stuff to kind of tag or show stuff. And if you had like a combat helmet on, you'd get a HUD there. And actually, in fact, in the third-person view, if you're looking back at you in the pilot, say in the ship, you can actually see some of the display stuff from the HUD, which is akin to sort of those third-person views you saw in, say, Iron Man. When you would look back on Robert Downey Jr., you could see, all the HUD being sort of on the front of his face.
Let's see. What have you thought about how the HUD is going to look in the Oculus Rift? Question for us. Yeah, I mean,
I was mentioning the whole stereoscopic 3D side. So we're deliberately setting up all the HUD stuff to have like Z distance, and it actually will be much more immersive in something like Oculus Rift than it would be just on a flat 2D screen, because you really feel the depth. You'll feel like these things floating in front of your eyes before the cockpit glass and stuff.
It's going to be really cool when the HUD actually has a little bit of parallax and delay to it. So when you move your head around, you'll actually, because these user interfaces are projected diegetically in the game, it's sort of separate. It's on a separate bone. So we will kind of try to have some parallax in it, so it just adds to that kind of immersion of you visualizing that interface. Azris asks, will we be able to move the location of where elements are displayed on the HUD? Well, you'll be able to minimize certain things on the HUD, but I don't think we've really looked into like actually moving the different placements of the HUD. That's actually pretty difficult, because when we design the interface, it's like things have to, especially with the visual language, things have to kind of fit in place. So yeah. I don't really. Code side, we can do it, right?
Yeah. The code side is not the issue. It's really just like what Zane's talking about, which is the design side. Is how we're approaching the HUD. Is it like a desktop that you have on a computer where you can move things around, or is it like something that's more, set, and so your speed is on the left, but your shields are on the right always. So and that potentially also could be specific to the manufacturer of the ship as well. So I think the code system supports it. It's just really more a design UI side issue.
A couple users asking if you're using Scaleform as the base.
Yeah. Brandon?
Yeah, I'm using Scaleform, which for people who don't know is a way to design your interfaces in Flash and then bring those into the game and either project them onto surfaces or display them in screen space. So we're actually using both of those aspects. So we have in-cockpit displays, which are flat screens, which you can move in and out, and you can choose what's displayed on them. And we also have the pilot visor, which is a partly a 3D object with a Scaleform UI projected on it, and partly a screen space Scaleform UI.
Yeah, and then we're also, it's not, so Scaleform's part of it, but we're also having actual 3D objects that are rendered with, we're actually developing the shader for them right now, so, but you can see the early versions of it in the hangar with the holo display. So like the ship spinning with the weapons and all that's not Scaleform at all. That's actually the geometry being rendered. So we're using a combination of Scaleform to do sort of the more sort of 2D elements, the font and the text and stuff, and then the actual engine to render 3D wireframe objects. So the ship, like for instance, seeing your weapons, selecting your weapons, that will all be done in the HUD or even on the displays using the actual geometry. Probably same for damage displays and stuff like that, mainly because we've got so many ships out there and we're building all the geometry. You don't really want to also have to build a whole separate set of 2D sprites to represent something you've already got in 3D. So we sort of use the geometry engine as well as Scaleform together in concert to create the effect that we have.
We've got someone asking if the HUD that's tracking a ship will it show like an arrow when the ship goes off screen for you to track it.
Yeah, that's something that we do already.
Very cool. A lot of people wondering if the alien HUDs will be in alien languages. If you thought about that yet?
Yeah, I'm not sure. We haven't really got to that point, but I mean, it'd be cool.
Aliens.
I would say that I would say like flying a Vandal ship. Yeah, you're gonna have, I mean, we're actually one thing we're doing right now on the art side is we have some of our graphic artists are actually tasked with developing the look of the alien languages. So I would say the alien ships, unless they were sold, like built or repurposed for human resale, would defaultly display in an alien language. So like if you've got the Drouthy, I mean not the Drouthies, Wing Commander slip there, the Sky. You have the Sky. It would basically it'll be all in Vandal script. Wouldn't necessarily be in alphanumeric or anything we've got.
We're wondering if we will see the same HUD in the Star Citizen app that's been talked about. Wondering if people will be treating their like phone, tablet app as part of their ship and it'll have the same HUD interface.
So you're talking about second screen display, right? I mean, it's not so much the HUD. It's like, okay, I can see my weapons display or my ship status display in my iPad because it's talking to my computer. I mean, I would assume that, I mean, we haven't really sort of done a lot of work on that aspect of it. That's something we're going to do research towards, but I would assume we would obviously follow the same, like, aesthetic. I mean, there's no reason why we would have a different look for that than you would have on your displays in the game.
Yeah, I mean, on different sections, we have different sort of categories of information that's actually displayed in the HUD in the Hornet. So such as like there's a whole window on like weapon systems, and then your own ship stats and also like information on your target. So you could kind of like take one of those information windows, and then maybe one idea is to actually pass that off to whatever peripheral screen that you have on the side and have that display along with any other information you have on your HUD. So maybe it's just kind of like something where it just displays extra information to you at the same time because there's so little screen space to work with already as is.
We've got users wondering if different positions in the same ship will have different HUDs. So if I'm a turret gunner or navigator or something like that, I get a different display than the pilot.
Yeah, you should. There are definitely elements of certain seats that other seats don't need. If you're not in like a pilot seat, you don't need a fixed forward reticle. If you're not on a seat that can control weapons, you don't need any sort of targeting HUD. Radar operators might not need the general ship stats. So yeah, there's a lot of different things that different seats may or may not need.
Yeah, and the seats themselves dictate what elements of the HUD they would need. So
I'm coding that up right now.
There you are, from the horse's mouth.
Wondering about voice commands. Will there be any voice control here?
We haven't actually done any work on that. Although we're not necessarily against it. I mean, there's there's the next generation Kinect is going to be released for the PC next year. We'll probably take a look at some of the voice recognition there. We'll look at some of the voice recognition on other stuff, and if it makes sense, we're definitely going to use it. I think generally in some cases it is actually kind of useful. So we're interested in it, but we're not committing to it just yet. But we'll definitely we'll play around with it and do R&D, and if we feel like it makes the game better, we'll use it.
Some questions about the Mobiglass. does everyone always have a Mobiglass? Does you have to be wearing it at a particular time? How does that fit into our world?
Well, I think the Mobiglass is like the modern day equivalent, or the futuristic equivalent of having your iPhone or whatever with you. So generally, you would probably have it with you. Maybe you're wearing it like I've got a watch on right